have Matt Fore with us, and it was probably about 2 months ago, and Bob and I were talking a little bit about, okay, I need to start thinking about who I need for speakers out a couple of months. And Bob said, well, one person that you have to get on your lineup for Thrive that is just awesome, and he's funny. And I know it's 7:30 in the morning, and maybe people aren't ready to laugh and ready to have a good time, but I think
no, I'm not.
So Matt is going to talk to us a bit about communicating and winning, and just how you can use effective communication to grow our businesses. It's based on some biblical principles, and I am just delighted to have him with us, and delighted to share what he has and to be interactive with you as well.
Well, I'm going to jump right in there. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And is everybody enjoying the message so far? Just by a show of hands. That's good. That's almost 100%. But it's great to be here. You know, I did a conference on what I'm going to talk about a number of years ago, and I spoke on this subject for 10 hours. And so I was talking to Jeff about this yesterday, and we know we don't have that kind of time. So I'm going to condense it today to 5 hours. Is that okay, Jeff? Isn't that what we agreed on yesterday when I would said 5 hours?
But hey.
But I want to take you back to a simpler time. So you're going to need to use your imagination. When I was a little kid, my grandfather used to take me and my brother Joe and my sister Suzanne to a little country store. They lived in Littleton, North Carolina, which is a tiny little town in the middle of nowhere. And back in those days, they didn't have Walmart. They didn't have grocery stores even that were close by. So the little country store had everything that you needed, not just a Coke and a snack and gas, but you could buy chicken wire at the country store. You could buy a hammer. You could buy a new dress if you wanted to. I mean, I never did. But you could buy almost anything that you wanted there. And there was a lady that ran the country store, and her name was Marge. Now, I've since found out that there were country stores like that all over the country back in the early 1960s. And they all had a lady that ran the store, and her name was always Marge. I don't know why that is, but she ran the store. She lived upstairs with her husband, Frank, and everybody knew Marge and Frank. And Marge and Frank knew everybody within a 30, 40-mile radius because they all came to the country store to get whatever they needed. And, you know, things aren't like that anymore. But Marge had basically one way to communicate whatever she had to sell and one way to sell it. And it always worked. Now, if somebody told you that there was one way that you could always communicate effectively and always sell 100% of the time, you would think, well, that must be a great idea. And it worked every time, and I'll tell you what it was. You can probably remember this. Here's what she did. She waited at the store for you to come by. That's it. That's how simple things were back in those days, but it always worked because you would come in and you would just get a Coke and a pack of nabs and buy it, and that was it. It was pretty easy for Marge. Now, there were some people in those days that were more aggressive. Like they would knock on your door and sell something. This actually happened to my grandmother. She was very particular about her house, and she kept it super clean, and she was very proud of it. And she had some ladies over, some grandmother type ladies over, and they were having a tea party, and they were just having their tea with that's how you do a tea party. And this guy knocked on the door and came in to sell a vacuum cleaner, and he vacuumed a little place on the carpet in front of all my grandmother's friends. And then he opened the vacuum cleaner and took the bag out, and it had this nasty black water in it. And he showed her how dirty her carpet was in front of all her friends. And that did not go over very well at all. And my grandmother got so mad. She did something to him. We don't know what it was, but we know she got 10 years of hard time. But that's how people sold things back in those days. It was so easy. You just wait. They come by or you knock on the door. Imagine somebody knocking on your door right now to sell you something. You would never put up with that. I'm going to share a screen with you to give you a contrast of just how things have changed since then. We communicate a lot differently now. I've created a program, a course that is called Stand Out, Communicate, Win. Because that's what we all need to do in our business. It doesn't make any difference what kind of business you're in. You need to stand out above everybody else. Marge didn't have a problem standing out above everybody else because she was the only place that you could go. But now we're all competing with one another. Let me just show you some of the ways we communicate. Instagram, email, Twitter, Facebook groups, YouTube, Vimeo, Pinterest, text, private messaging, LinkedIn. We've got apps of all kinds. We've got all these tools, Google Drive, Google Docs, Voxer, Marco Polo, Zoom, GoToMeeting, Dropbox. It goes on and on and on and on. And what's going on now is that we all are yelling and screaming, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's like penguins. Can you see that okay, Jeff? Is that coming up on your screen all right?
Yeah.
Good. You see the penguins there. The penguins they all look alike. They all sound alike, and they're all trying to get everybody's attention. But what we've got to do in our business is to stand out above everybody else. You can see that flower, that it's standing out. You know what's weird? I don't know if it's weird, but it's concerning, is that it is easier now to get your message out than it's ever been because of all the technology that we have. But unfortunately, it is harder to communicate than it's ever been because everybody is doing the same thing. And so we're going to talk today about how you, in whatever business you're in, like you're a personal coach, you're going to do life coaching, you're going to get new clients for your fashion business. It doesn't matter if you're in real estate, if you're in landscaping, if you're a speaker, whatever you do, we've still got to communicate. By the way, that's Marge. That's the lady that worked in all the stores all the way across the country. Oh, that's my grandma when she was in jail. And I'm going to make my first little point with this bird. Now, my grandfather, Pa, told my brother Joe and I that the easiest way to catch a bird is to put salt on his tail. So there we were out in the backyard running around with salt shakers trying to salt that bird's tail, and we never did because you can't catch a bird that way. My grandfather thought that was hilarious. Might have been, but I mean, I feel silly about it now, but I mean, what are you going to, the things you do when you're 16. Let me move this down here. I'm going to make a point, and I want you to write this down. I asked Jeff to give everybody a piece of paper and a pen. And here's the first thing that I want you to write down. I want you to write down attract, don't chase. Attract, don't chase. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't go after our potential clients and our clients. But what it does mean is that as we go after them with bait, not chasing them. And I know all of you get chased and chased and chased all the time. You get so sick of being chased and bombarded with emails and ads and just on and on and on and on it goes. We want to be different. We stand out from everybody else when we attract people instead of chasing people. I know this guy that hired a cable company to come over and install a new service for him. And the guy showed up. He was supposed to be there at 10:15. He showed up at 10:30. And this guy said, why are you late? He said, well, I got into some traffic, so I wasn't able to get here on time. And he said, well, you got a phone, don't you? He said, yeah, I got a phone. He said, well, why didn't you call and tell me you were going to be late? He said, well, it's just 15 minutes. I just didn't think it was a big deal. And the guy said, yeah, it's a big deal. Because you told me one thing, but you didn't do it, and you didn't call to tell me why. And the guy's like, well, I was just in some traffic. And he said, well, listen, I don't need your services now. He said, because if that's what you're going to do when I'm buying something, what's it going to be like when I have a problem and I need your service to come and fix it? I just don't want to do business with you. We live in a culture today where most people, it is an accepted culture. Most people do not do what they say they're going to do. They say, I'll give you a call on Monday. They don't. I'll send you an email. I'll find the solution. I'll get this done. And I'll send you an email. I'll give you a call. I'll drop this in the mail. They don't do it. Now, I'm in business, and I know this for my own self, that when I'm talking to clients or whatever, and they say, yeah, we're going to have this meeting and we'll find this out. I'll shoot you an email on Monday. They don't email me on Monday. But it gets worse. I know they're not going to email me on Monday. I already know that. I never, and this is an aside, but as a business person, I can tell you to never let your client have the ball. Never depend on somebody to get back with you, because they're not going to get back with you. I do these events and I say to people, they say, what do you need? And I say, when I get there, I need a 6-foot table. I need 5 chairs on the stage. I need a little trash can with a plastic bag in it. And I need a 6-foot table in the back of the room. That's what I need. And they say, that's fine. We'll have it for you. And sometimes I'll email, just to make sure you guys got the table and everything. And they say, yeah, we got it. But when I show up, almost every time, it's not there. Table's not there. Chairs aren't there. Guy shows up, it's too late. I'm walking around asking the custodian, where are the tables? Oh, they're in the room. And I'm hauling tables up to the stage because the guy that told me he would have a table there doesn't have a table there. You know, years ago, if a friend of yours said he would come by your house on Saturday and help you paint the porch, he'd be there. And if he couldn't be there, he would call. And he would say, I'm sorry I couldn't be there. You know, my grandma got sick, had to take her to the hospital. But nowadays, not only do people not do what they say, you don't expect them to do what they say. There's no apology for it, but you don't expect an apology because we're in a culture now where people don't do what they say they're going to do. Now, I want to see a show of hands here. Does anybody relate to that? Can y'all relate to that? That we live in a culture where people don't do what they say they're going to do? I had a coach, and I've hired many coaches, but I had a coach that told me this, and he said, you know, it's kind of a bad thing that people don't do what they say they're going to do, but in a way, it's wonderful. And what makes it wonderful is that since most everybody doesn't do what they say they're going to do, when you do what you say you're going to do, you stand out above everybody else. You know, I have appointments with people, and I say, I'll give you a call on Monday at 9 o'clock. Let me tell you, 9 o'clock, bang, I call them. A lot of times they don't answer the phone, but I leave a message. And I say, hey, Jeff, Matt Fore here, 9 o'clock straight up. Told you I'd give you a call. Sorry to miss you. I'll send you a quick email, and we'll set up another time. But you know what? They know that I did what I said I was going to do. People know me as a person who will do what they said they would do. And you can do that. It's easy to just think that's not important. But when you do what you say you're going to do and you let your client know, hey, listen, I told you, when you send them an email, we were talking last Friday, and I told you that I would check with this person and find this out. And I did that, and this is what I found out. And you send it to them. Even if they don't do what they said, in their mind, they've got this idea, this is a person of integrity. They do what they say they're going to do. I want you to write that down on your paper. Do what you say. Do what you say. We've got attract and don't chase. And we've got do what you say. Now, many of you have been to a website and you wanted to buy something on that website. And so, or you wanted some information about this company. And so you go to that company on their website, and you know what? You can't find a phone number. You can't find it. Or if you do find it, it's down at the bottom of the website, way down at the bottom in 0.05 font. And it's an 800 number. because they really don't want you to call. And I'm not making this up. There are a lot of companies that just do not want you to call. What they want you to do is go to their business, get on their site, get into their program, and buy. They've got plenty of places for you to buy, but they don't have a lot of places for you to contact them. They have an FAQ section, frequently asked questions, where they'll have 10 or 12 questions that people frequently ask. But what if your questions are not frequently asked? What if you've got something that you want to know and you just need to talk to somebody? What about that? You say, well, I'll email them. Well, guess what? There's no email address either. They have the info at box. The info at box is a blank box that sends to who knows who, that gets to them who knows when. And so we've become impersonal in business. People really don't want to talk to you. They just want you to buy something. And we stand out when we are accessible to people. I work with this guy. We actually have a little company that's called Funny Short Films. And we've created a funny short film that we call Cupcakes. And I'm going to share this with you. It's a lot of fun to give you an idea of what it might feel like if you actually walked into a company and got the kind of treatment that you normally expect online. This runs about 3 minutes, so just have fun with it, and I'll be right back. Jeff, you're there. When this plays, I want you to give me a thumbs up if you can see it and hear it.
Hi, can I get 2 dozen chocolate and a dozen strawberry with sprinkles, please? You have sprinkles, right? Hello? Are you working right now? I want to get some cupcakes.
Excuse me, do you have a password?
No, I don't have a password.
He doesn't have a password.
Well, he has to have a password.
You have to have a password. You can write it here.
I don't know if this is right, but you could try it.
He didn't know if this is going to be right, but you can try.
No.
No, that's not the password. Do you have a user or
No.
do you have any ID?
I don't think I have.
What's your mother's maiden name?
Uh,
You don't look like a Don. You look like a David. What's your shoe size? Are you a robot? Do you have an account?
no, I don't have an account.
He doesn't have an account.
Well, he has to have an account.
You have to have an account. Would you like to open an account?
Okay, yes, sure.
Okay. What's your password?
I don't have a password. Look, I just want to buy some cupcakes. Is there somebody I can talk to or a phone number?
Is there a phone number?
Does he see a phone number?
Do you see a phone number? There's no phone number. And nobody's here.
Somebody has to be here. There's always somebody here.
Is anybody here?
Nobody's here.
She said nobody's here.
You know what? How about you just give me a name and email address and I will contact somebody directly.
Well, that's a good idea. Do you have a name?
Info.
Info.
Info?
Info at.
Info. I'm not emailing somebody named info at, but I'm going to tell your owner about all the ridiculous things you guys are doing here today.
Well, that'll work. You'll have to do that in 40 characters or less.
Okay, I could do that for you.
Okay. Would you like to send it now?
Yes, I'd like to send it now.
What's your password?
I don't have a password.
He doesn't have a password.
He has to have a password.
You have to have a password.
You know what? How's that for a password?
How's that for a password? I'm afraid someone has selected this password.
I'm out of here, and I'm not coming back.
See ya. He'll be back.
And so there you have it. Now, I know that you guys have experienced that kind of thing. You get this feeling when you show up that you're just not that important. We want to be accessible. You know, I'm not against info app boxes, but the info app box should be like a catch-all. If you have a business, even if you have a big business and you have lots of employees, there's somebody there that gets the emails. And what you can do is that you can have a person, let's say Mary is the person that gets all those info at boxes, all those info at messages. You could put Mary right on the website. Just put her face right on there, even a little video of Mary right on there. And you change that address to mary@abccompany.com. And Mary is there and she says, "Hi, I'm Mary," or just type it out. "Hi, I'm Mary. I'm here to answer any questions that you have about this. Just fill out this little box and I will get right back to you. This is Mary. This is what I do. This is my job. I'm here to serve you." And we give these people the sense that we care about them and that somebody is always there to care and to answer the problems that they have. So we have to attract and not chase. We have do what you say. And now we have be accessible. I want you to put be accessible in your business. You know, I've had a lot of coaches. I have stories about coaches that I've had. And I had this one coach about 2 years ago. And I have to tell you, I'm not ashamed or afraid of the camera. But she said, "You know, you need to do Facebook Lives." And I'm like, wow, you know, Facebook Lives kind of scare me because I make a lot of mistakes. And I don't want to be doing a Facebook Live and then make a mistake. But I jumped in there and I started doing Facebook Lives. You know what I found out? I made a lot of mistakes. In fact, the first Facebook Live I did was sideways. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. My Facebook Live was like this. "Hi, I'm Matt Fore, and the first thing I want you to know is I know what I'm doing." And so that's how it went out. But I learned and I learned and I learned. And now I do Facebook Lives all the time. I actually have a Facebook Live every Sunday morning. It's called Your Sunday Morning Encouragement. And I've done lots and lots of Facebook Lives. But you know what? People want to hide behind a logo, a website, a motto, a slogan. It's really easy to not want to be out in front. We want to hide. But you know what? Every business needs a face. We need to say, you know, "I'm Jeff and I'm in this business and I'm here to serve you. This is who I am. I'm Matt Fore. I'm a speaker. I'm an entertainer. I'm a writer. This is me. This is the person you're dealing with." But we want to hide behind that. But you know what? In any business that you are, you can go live. You can be animated. And that's what I want to tell you, to be animated. Because people love to buy from other people that they know and like and trust. Now, I didn't come up with that. That's like an old saying. But people want to do business with people they know and like and trust. You ever talk to somebody about something and they're giving you the surface story about what's going on? But when you know them a little bit better, they kind of look that way and they look that way. And they kind of go, "Come here, I'll tell you something." And then they tell you a little bit more, you know, to be honest with you. And I didn't tell you this before, but really this is what's going on. If you really know somebody, if you're talking to your brother, your sister, your wife, somebody that you really know, they'll shut the door behind them and they'll say, "Listen, this is what's really going on." The more people know you, the more people feel like they know you, the more they really let you know how they feel and what their problem is. But on the surface, they don't tell you that much because they don't know you that well. They don't trust you that well. So our objective in business and our communication is to build a relationship with people so that they know us and they trust us and they give you a chance to try to do something for them. You know, at first they give you a little chance. At first they might take something for free and then they might spend a little bit of money. But when you knock it out of the park, they're willing to spend more with you. They're willing to recommend you to people because we're building trust with these people. And so when you have a face and when you have a voice and when you're animated to people, it builds trust in your business. When you hide behind your website and your logo and your motto, they don't know you. They just know the business. So let's use Facebook Live for example. If I were in And let's use some businesses that you wouldn't think maybe would benefit that well from Facebook Live. If I had a restaurant, let me tell you what I would do. I'm at a local restaurant. It's my business. I'd be on Facebook Live 2 or 3 times a week. And I'd say, hey, this is me from your favorite restaurant. I've got Joe over here making my grandma's homemade chili. Not many people have this recipe. He only makes this once a week. We make it on Wednesday. And we have it until Thursday, but by Thursday noon, it's always gone. So if you want this chili, you better get down here now. That's what I do if I had a restaurant. If I was in real estate and I put a house on the market, I'd be on Facebook Live and I'd say, I'm so excited. I just listed this property. It's beautiful. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath right here on the corner. This house was only driven to church once a week on Sundays, and the rest of the time it stayed right here on the corner, and you're going to absolutely love it. You got to come by here and see this. It's not going to last long. If I had a restaurant, if I had a clothing store, I'd be on live when I did a new shipment that came in, and I would say, we just got these beautiful dresses. They're very popular. I ordered 12. I only got 3 because they're hard to get, but you better get down here and get these. What happens is when you're live, when you're animated with people, they sort of get accustomed to hearing you and seeing you, and you build a clientele. You build a rapport with them. You're coming out frequently. And you know what? You start to get a following, sort of. You get a following. And then they tell people, and if you're a little bit animated, if you're a little bit funny, if you're a little bit fun to hear, they might share it with their friend. If you were in the dress business and you shared this thing, somebody might say, well, I don't need it, but my cousin so-and-so is looking for something like that, and they might share it with them. And you just get this hum going. Social media doesn't really, people don't really go and buy stuff right off of that. Now, and I can talk about that later, but it's just getting out there, being top of mind and being animated and not being afraid and hiding behind your business. It does generate business, but there's just a couple of steps that we can talk about. But get out there and have a face, be animated. You can write down, have a face, and then / to be animated. If I were to tell you a method that you could use, where I could guarantee you that you could get somebody's attention, you could get a potential client's attention for 20 seconds, what would that be worth? Because we're fighting for people's attention. You've got like 2 seconds, 3 seconds with a subject line just to pull people in, right? And if you could get your message over to them for 10 seconds, 20 seconds to say in an email, this is the message that I have for you, that's huge. But what if there was a way that you could do that? Because it's very hard. We're like those penguins screaming and yelling all the time. What if there was a way that you could guarantee that you could do that? I'm going to share that with you right now. I know all of you get up in the morning. If you're like most people, check your email and you go delete, 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 delete. I don't want that. You go to the post office and you get your mail and you go, that's junk, that's junk, that's a bill, that's junk, that's junk. Something from Jeff Clemmer. I don't want that. That's junk, that's a bill. I don't want it. And then you just take the bills with you and you throw the junk out and there you go. But what if there was something that you could go through and you could look at and you could say, whoa, what's this? I got to read this. I'm going to share it with you. This is kind of a secret. I don't think anybody even knows about this. Maybe they just came out. I don't know. But I'm going to share it with you. And it's called, you might want to write this down. This is called a thank you card. Now, I realize this is a strange thing, but I'm going to explain to you how this works. Your thank you card is blank on the inside. And so you actually write something down with a pen. Now that's where you get this instrument and you put it on and you have to actually make movements back and forth with your hand and it makes an impression on the paper. We can talk about that later. I've got a whole seminar that I do on that. But when someone checks the mail, they see all this stuff that's been printed out, and then they get an envelope that looks something like that. Look, it's handwritten, and it has a stamp right on the corner there. And they go, oh, what's this? So they're checking the mail, and they go, that's junk, that's junk, that's a bill, that's junk, something from Jeff Clemmer, I don't want that. They throw that away, and then they go, what's this item? And it's handwritten to you. And they open it up and they read it, and it says, hi, Mary. I just want to say thank you for stopping by the store last week, and I appreciate you giving us the time. Anything we can do for you about your whatever it is that they wanted, please let us know. And we just appreciate your business, and you drop it in the mail. These cost, 30-something cents to send to them? Isn't that amazing that for 30-something cents, you can get someone's attention for just a few minutes? And you can show them that you are thankful. You actually get their attention. I know a speaker, his name's Larry Wingate, and he does these conferences for people all over the place. And he said that in all the years that he's done these conferences, there's never been one single time where one single person has ever written him a thank you card and said, thank you for speaking to us for all those days at the conference. I learned so much. Because it's hard to do, to sit down and handwrite something and drop it to them in the mail. But it endears people to you. They actually love them. They're pretty, and they put them up here and they remember them. I've had people, when I've sent thank you cards, when I do shows, the first thing I do when I get back, I send everybody a thank you card. Thank you for inviting me to speak at your event. I appreciate it so much. Everything else is electronic. This stands out like that flower I was showing you on the Stand Out, Communicate, Win. It just jumps out and catches you. You know, I was at a festival one time. I wasn't performing at this festival, but there were thousands, tens of thousands of people at this festival. They shut the streets down. They rope off the streets. And there was a guy standing in the middle of the road, like you're down Main Street, and he's got all these flyers in his hand because his business was right beside him over here on the sidewalk, and he was passing these flyers out as people came by. And I went by. Of course, you know, you've got like one of those Slurpee things in your hand, and you've got a hot dog under your arm, and this guy wants to give you one of his flyers. I didn't want it, but what are you going to do? You got to take it. So I'm walking around with my Slurpee, my hot dog, and my flyer, thinking, where can I throw this? And as I got down about 50 feet down the road, I saw a big black trash can in the middle of the road, and I thought, that's perfect. I'll get rid of it there. When I got to the trash can and looked down in, you know what? It was full of those flyers because nobody wanted one. It's impersonal, and it wasn't convenient for people. And I thought, I got a great idea for this guy. Instead of getting up early and standing in the middle of the road waiting for people to come by, he should have printed all those flyers, got there before anybody else, gone over and dropped all of them in the trash can. And that way it would have saved him from standing there all day in the hot sun because nobody wanted that. And that's what we do a lot of times when we communicate. We send stuff to people. They don't want it. They don't read it. They don't get the junk mail. They don't open the junk emails. They don't return your call. So what do? How do you stand out? And this is what I'm talking about, ways that we stand out in people. And I tell you, thank you cards are just an amazing way that we can actually get people's attention. So you got to think about that ahead of time. You got to get people's addresses, but I want you to write down on your paper to be thankful. Be thankful and let people know that you're thankful. Wow, I just got a few minutes here. Let me hit this quick. This next thing I have got stories about, but I'm going to hit it quick. And I want you to write down give bonuses. Give bonuses. I worked in this jewelry store for about 10 years before I was going to college, and it was really a hard time because I was working full time, going to Harvard and trying to get my degree. No, not Harvard. Cecil's Junior College. That's what it was. I always get those mixed up. But anyway, I was going to college, and I worked at this jewelry store. And, people would come in, Shelley's Jewelry, people would come in a lot of times, and they would say, I think my watch battery ran out. And they'd take it and they'd put a battery in it and give it back. And they'd say, what do I owe you? And they'd say, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. They'd come in with a little bracelet that was sticking, like the little thing was sticking up, catching on their sweater, or the clasp was broken. And they could fix it. They could just fix it. And they'd give it back to them. What do I owe you? You don't owe me anything. Or they'd say, hey, your ring looks a little dull. You want me to polish that up for you? And we take it back there, and they had a polishing wheel, and they could do some stuff on there. You could put it in the little cleaner and give it back to them, and man, it just sparkled like new money. They'd say, wow, that looks like it was brand new. What do I owe you for that? They'd say, you don't owe me anything. We just thank you for coming in. They could have charged for that stuff. You could get $5 or $10 for a battery. You could get $10 for fixing a bracelet. You don't owe me anything. Shelley's Jewelry had a sale once a year. They called it Ad Pack. And it was so amazing. Everybody wanted to come to that once a year sale. It was amazing. They had to put brown paper over the front windows and the doors because people knew that this Ad Pack sale was coming up, and they would try to look in the window to see what we were doing. It was a secret. So we'd had to cover the windows up. But let me tell you, when we opened up for Ad Pack on Saturday, it was like a rock concert. It was like Elvis Presley was in there. Of course, that would be weird. But it was, people had to get in there, and they bought whenever there was an anniversary, Valentine's, Christmas. People were at Shelley's. They came to Shelley's because they knew us, they appreciated it, and we had blessed and blessed and blessed and blessed people all year, and they wanted to come back and buy from Shelley's Jewelry. All of this stuff that I'm telling you, most all of this stuff that I'm telling you really is the biblical principle. And you find this in Philippians 2:3, and this is what it says: with humility of mind, regard others as being more important than yourself. We're talking about serving here. We're talking about blessing people, of being thankful, of giving them things, of being accessible to people so that they need to talk to you when you're not getting money, but they just want to talk to you and ask questions, that you're there to serve them and give them attention and let them know that you care and they're important to you, not just send them to the info app box for them to go. And then you look at the message and see, does that make money for me or not? Because if it doesn't, I don't need to get back to them. You're not as important right now. You don't know how important they're going to be later on. The Bible's not a marketing book, but it's the best marketing book ever, because it teaches us that whatever you sow, that's what you reap. And when you serve and you bless and you care, all of this comes back to you in your business. You plant today, you don't know when it's going to come back, but it's going to come back. Jesus wasn't a marketer. And yet if you look, he wasn't selling anything. And yet wherever he went, people flocked to him so much that he had to get away and go up on top of the hill and hide and get with God. So get with the Father so he could pray and re-energize himself. He was a magnet for people. We can be a magnet for people by serving and blessing. Let me share this last little bit, and I'm going to say this quickly, and I need to put my note right there so I can see it. But I'm going to share a little thing with you here. Well, actually, you know what? Before I do that, just so I don't run out of time, what have I got, Jeff, about 8 minutes or something? I'm going to close with a little thing that I call you don't say. You don't say. You know what people don't buy from you? You don't know. And you know why you don't know? Because they don't say. Nobody ever comes up to you and say, I didn't buy from you. I didn't buy because you just didn't connect with me very well. I didn't buy because let me tell you what you could have done that would have gotten the sale. They just don't engage. You never know it because they don't say. They don't ask because you didn't engage with them in the right way for them to feel like that they could ask or make it easy enough for them to ask. They just don't buy. Or worse than that, they needed something and they bought it from your competitor Now, your competitor probably doesn't have the quality that you have, but your competitor might be better at communicating. Communicating is not everything in business, but in my opinion, it's at least 50%. Part of your business is understanding your product and your service and having a quality product and service, but the other half of business is communicating effectively. You know, I am working with a company now who's in the skincare business, and they paid $4,000 for a copywriter to come in and write copy, an email campaign, a branding, a description, pop-ups. They paid $4,000 for copy that's just basically useless. And the girl that did the copywriting is a fantastic writer. She has great stuff that she wrote, but nobody's going to read it. They're not going to read it because she wrote a novel for each one of these things that she's trying to communicate, and people don't read, they scan. They don't read it. Nobody's reading that. It's just too much. It's much harder to write concise things, short emails that really engage people. And so I'm rewriting the emails, rewriting all the branding. I'm going to rewrite all the pop-ups. Because it doesn't do any good if you don't communicate right. Subject lines. Most people don't write good subject lines. They don't have curiosity subject lines. They have subject lines like, here's our newsletter, and nobody cares about your newsletter. Subject lines that are all about me, when the subject line should always be about you and about your problem and how I can solve your problem. I talked to a guy just 2 days ago who's in the financial business. And I was talking to him, and he's like, we want to grow the business. And I say, do you know about opt-ins? Do you know how to have an ad or an email that has a link in it that takes people to an opt-in where that they can get something free to learn more and more about what you do? No, we didn't know that. See, communication is the key to succeeding in business. Even if you have a great product, you got to know how to communicate it. Well, Jeff, it's 9:46, and so I'm going to cut this short by 4 hours and 15 minutes. Okay, and then we'll save it. We'll save the rest of it for another time. Did everybody have a good time? If you could raise your hand. Did anybody get something good out of what you learned today? Are you excited? Your business can be amazing and fantastic. Don't focus everything on the product or the service. You got to understand half the business is the way you communicate it, and you got to do that in order to be successful. Stand out, communicate, and win. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm done, guys. I'm out. I'll hang in here with you for a minute, but thank you, Jeff, for having me. I appreciate it.
Us with asking a couple of questions.
Please do. I'm here.
Okay. So one of the first things that you said was attract, don't chase. And then you said use bait. And can you give maybe a little, just dig into that a little bit more on the use bait?
Yeah, I absolutely can. You know, what we want to do with our clients is to understand what their pain point is. And what we tend to do is tell people about us. Like I could say to you, I'm a great speaker and I'm a great entertainer. But what I've got to do is I've got to find out from you, what is your pain point? Now, let's make this really simple. Let's say that I was a doctor and I could do all these different things, but I specialized in helping you with back problems. I was just really good at that. I'm a neurologist. I know all about the supplements. I know all about the exercises. I know the medicines that help you. I know the things that will hurt you. But if I advertise, if I put up there and I say, you know, Dr. So-and-so, whatever, come and see me. I'm trained in this. I've got all these degrees. I've been all these seminars and sessions. I've got a beautiful office. We've got the highest quality machinery. You know what? You don't care anything about that. But if I say this, do you have back problems? I have the answer. Does your back hurt? Do you have back trouble? That I fix that problem. You have a problem and I fix it. I was driving, and that's bait. It's if you don't understand what the problem is, then you can't bait them, right? If you're trying to fish with plastic bait, they don't bite that. You've got to know, what does this kind of fish eat? And you put the bait out there to solve the problem that they have. And so subject lines are very important bait. And there are different kinds of subject lines, but the kind that there are two kinds that I recommend. One of them is when you are communicating with people that don't know you, and one is when you're communicating with people that do know you. When they don't know you, you're putting out the bait that says, you have this problem, I can solve it. And you see that a lot of times on Facebook and these places. What they're saying is, you don't have enough money, you want to work from home, you want to learn how to be an entrepreneur on your own. And they're coming out with a 1-minute video saying, do you have trouble making enough money? Have you been looking for a way that you can stay at home and lick envelopes and make $100,000 a year? Click on this link and I'm going to tell you how, right? That's bait. Now, that may or may not be true. What they've got is probably not. But we're baiting people, not in a bad way. You've got to really have the answer. But our bait is to understand their problem and say, we don't give them the answer. Bait is not the answer. Bait is the way that you say, come here. And all we're asking people to do is raise their hand. In other words, click this link, reply. You know what I do in emails? I don't say to people, just let me know. When we give vague calls to action, hey, if you want to know anything, just let me know. You don't do that. When I do an email to people and I want them to respond, I say, in order to receive this free video, reply, and I'll put the word reply, and I'll put a capital R, and I'll put 2 of those little stars, one on each side. Reply here and say, and there's just like a little sentence. They're like 3 words, back trouble. But I give you a specific thing to do, and you got to know that you do have the answer to them. You do have a benefit for them. But you know the problem, and you say, I have an answer for your problem, and here's the call to action. Do this very specific thing, and then you take that first step.